Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. Pakistan has stepped into a pivotal diplomatic role as it hosts high-stakes US-Iran talks aimed at turning a fragile ceasefire into a permanent peace agreement in the Middle East. Delegations from Washington and Tehran are arriving in Islamabad with direct negotiations. The US delegation is being led by Vice President JD Vance, accompanied by Special Representative Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner. On the Iranian side, Foreign Minister Abbas Araqchi and Parliamentary Speaker Baqir Qalibaf will represent Tehran. The talks are aimed at transforming the current 2-week temporary ceasefire into a lasting peace arrangement. Unprecedented security arrangements have been implemented across Islamabad and Rawalpindi. More than 5,000 police personnel have been deployed, while law enforcement and intelligence agencies are on high alert. The White House has confirmed that President Donald Trump is dispatching a high-level negotiating team to Pakistan, led by Vice President JD Vance, for talks with Iran. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the first round of negotiations will take place on Saturday. US Envoy Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner are also part of the delegation as diplomatic efforts gather pace. Meanwhile, Vice President Vance says a deal to end the conflict is possible if Iran negotiates in good faith. Speaking during a visit to Hungary, he said President Trump has directed the negotiating team to work toward an agreement. Just before leaving for Pakistan, US Vice President JD Vance said he expects positive negotiations with Iran, but also warned that any attempt to play the United States would be met with a firm response. Speaking to reporters, he said Washington is open to engagement if Tehran negotiates in good faith, as diplomatic efforts continue under a fragile ceasefire.
Trump has said that a peace deal with Iran may be within reach, even as tensions simmer on the ground. He said he is very optimistic that a deal with Iran could soon be achieved, speaking in a phone interview with NBC News. He claimed Iranian leaders adopt a more flexible tone in private discussions compared to their public statements. Also, during a phone call, Trump urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to scale back military operations in Lebanon to support peace efforts. He later confirms the conversation, saying he spoke to Netanyahu and he's going to low-key it.
Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Ravanchi says a consensus has been reached to use Tehran's 10-point plan as the basis for negotiations with the United States. He said that Iran supports diplomacy but will not accept talks built on false premises or aimed at enabling further military action. The plan includes maintaining control of the Strait of Hormuz, lifting sanctions, and a US military withdrawal as both sides prepare for talks in Islamabad. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baqir Qalibaf says key conditions must be met before negotiations can begin. In a post on social media, he called for a ceasefire in Lebanon and the release of Iran's blocked assets as prior commitments. Qalibaf warned that talks should not proceed until these steps are implemented, as disputes continue over ceasefire terms and ongoing hostilities.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that he discussed military capabilities and the logistics of moving vessels through the Strait of Hormuz when he spoke to US President Donald Trump a day earlier. He said during his visit to the Gulf that they'd been pulling together a coalition of countries working on a political, diplomatic plan. Asked if he raised US threats of withdrawing from NATO with Trump, Starmer did not answer directly, but said the alliance was in both the US and Europe's interests.
Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is seeking direct talks with Lebanon as regional tensions threaten a fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran. He said negotiations would focus on disarming Hezbollah and establishing peaceful relations, with talks expected to begin soon. The push comes as global energy flows remain disrupted, with limited traffic through the Strait of Hormuz and diplomatic efforts expanding from Islamabad to Washington.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a 32-hour ceasefire over a 2-day period for Orthodox Easter, and his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, said Kiev would abide by the measure. The ceasefire for Orthodox Easter celebrations on Sunday coincides with a pause in US-led efforts to clinch a settlement to the 4-year-old conflict amid hostilities in Iran and the broader Middle East. The Kremlin said the Easter ceasefire would be in effect from Saturday at 4 p.m. to midnight on Sunday evening. The Kremlin announcement said it proceeded on the basis that the Ukrainian side will follow the example of the Russian Federation. Attacks on Saudi energy facilities have cut the kingdom's oil production capacity by around 600,000 barrels per day and throughput on its east-west pipeline by about 700,000 barrels per day. Saudi state news agency SPA reported, citing an official source at the Ministry of Energy, that the latest attacks also disrupted operations at key oil, gas, refining, petrochemical and electricity sites in Riyadh, the Eastern Province, and Yanbu industrial city. One pumping station on the east-west pipeline was hit, reducing throughput by about 700,000 barrels per day. The Manifa oil field and Coercive facility were also hit, reducing production capacity by a total of 600,000 barrels per day. And US First Lady Melania Trump has denied that she had any relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and said she was not one of his victims, thrusting the Epstein matter back into the spotlight after her husband had sought to put it behind him. She denied online speculation that the disgraced financier and sex offender had introduced her to Donald Trump, saying she had met her husband at a New York City party in 1998, 2 years before crossing paths with Epstein at another event she attended with Trump. She also urged Congress to hold public hearings for Epstein victims to tell their stories under oath. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.